Donald Trump with a huge victory in Iowa last night, historic actually. Let's take a look at that, but first, let's check out Rachel Maddow going on about fascism after his win.
So I think again, the big picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not, if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country, if we're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government, the leader who is trying to do that is part of that equation. But people wanting that is a much bigger part of that equation. Right. And the American electorate is made up of two major parties. One of those parties has been flirting with extremism on the ultra-right for a very long time. They've brought them in a way that they haven't been central to Republican electoral politics ever before, and I know because I've been studying this. But once you have radicalized one major party so that those are the preferences of the people who adhere to your party, the leader's interchangeable. And yes, Trumpism is sometimes what we call it. MAGA movement is probably a better way to do it. But there is an authoritarian movement inside Republican politics that isn't being bamboozled by Trump. They are pushing Trump to get more and more extreme, because the more extreme things he says, the more they adhere to him. And that is coming from a very large proportion of the American right that adheres to the Republican Party. And that's why this is a Republican Party problem more than it is the problem of one man and his leader.
Doesn't that tie together
Oh my gosh, these people never stop. She also admitted that they were censoring his victory speech for reasons they can't tell us. Anyway, Donald Trump wins Iowa with 51% of the vote, and I predicted he would get about 52%, so 51% was not that far off. He won in a historic landslide because the largest margin of victory in the past was only 12.8%. We'll get to that later. But Trump with 51% of the vote, 56,000 votes. Ron DeSantis comes in second with 21%. Nikki Haley, 19%. Donald Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, who dropped out of the race and endorsed Donald Trump, received 7.7%. Not a bad turnout for him, and a newcomer like this. I think he has some great momentum. In the future, he might get a spot in Trump's cabinet. I think it's very likely, which I think is what his plan was all along, to get his name out there. But anyway, Trump gets 20 delegates out of 40 last night. You need about 1,200 to win the nomination. So this was a great showing for Trump last night, and he won 98 out of 99 counties. Only county that he lost was Johnson County, and he lost it by 1 vote. Not a huge deal, 1 vote. Give it to Nikki Haley. She still got clobbered. I think it's funny that Ron DeSantis gave what sounded like a victory speech after losing by 30 points. Pretty crazy. Anyway, let's check out the polling. This is what it looked like leading up to the caucus. So RCP average had Trump at about 52.5%, Nikki Haley at 19%, DeSantis at 16%, Ramaswamy at 6.8%. So this was not that far off. Trump got 51%, Nikki Haley finished with 19%, DeSantis did a little better, Ramaswamy did a little bit better than what the polling showed, but it really wasn't that far off overall. So great night for Donald Trump, winning the first election, you want to call it, even though this is a caucus, the first election of the 2024 Republican primary. Let's break down a little bit of what where his victory was. So he received 55% of the white evangelical Christian vote, more than double of what Ron DeSantis got at 24%, 13% for Nikki Haley. His biggest strengths were people with no college degree, 62%, people who consider themselves very conservative at 58%, and rural caucus voters, 58%. This is no surprise. You have the rural Trump vote, which always dominates, no college degree. And it looks, when he won in 2016, he did very well with people with no college degrees and rural voters. And somebody I know said that as a criticism. Yeah, the people that voted for him were white, poor, uneducated. No, it just means that the working class, blue collar person who may not have a degree saw Trump as somebody who is going to help them, and which is why he's done so well with this voting bloc. It doesn't mean that there's a bunch of white, poor people voting for him. That's not what that means. It doesn't matter what race you are. If you don't have a college degree, you're more of a blue. I'm not saying you don't have a degree if you have a blue collar job, but these are more middle class, working class, blue collar people who see Trump as somebody who will help them versus an elite, somebody who's more of an Ivy League type person, who went to Harvard. Those people go for somebody like Nikki Haley, more of an establishment type candidate. More than 6 in 10 caucus goers consider themselves supporters of the MAGA movement, and most of them, 74%, backed Trump. So that's good. And a hint of the next challenge for Trump, ensuring the full party is united behind him if he wins the nomination. Non-MAGA voters back Haley by 8 points, with DeSantis second. DeSantis' main strength was college educated, very conservative, and suburbanites. While he did not win any major demographic group outright, his advantages over Haley among white evangelicals, 11%, and those who felt abortion should be illegal in all cases, 30 plus points. Plus 30 points were enough to vault him into second place. So yeah, this is where DeSantis' strengths were. College degree, like I said, abortion always legal at 35%. Suburban caucus goers, very conservative. So that doesn't surprise me, because a lot of very conservative people do like DeSantis as an alternative to Trump. And I think DeSantis is a very conservative guy. I'm not going to fall into the narrative that some of the Trump supporters, even though I am a Trump supporter, there's narrative that he is a rhino. I don't believe that. I think he's shown that he is a conservative guy. So, like I said, this was overall a great night for Donald Trump. Nikki Haley, her strengths. More than 1/3 of Haley, 41%, and 35% of Trump voters will return the favor by declining to support DeSantis if he is the eventual nominee. Interesting. Haley's strengths: college degree, moderates, suburban caucus goers. Abortion should be legal. This is where her strength was: more moderate, college-educated voters. And some of these people may identify as, may vote for Democrats. I did hear that some the Haley supporters would vote for Joe Biden. So this does not surprise me at all. She's seen as more of an elite establishment type. I don't think she's as radical as some of these people on the left. She's not. But somebody who's more in the middle may like Nikki Haley better than somebody who's like Trump or DeSantis, who are more conservative. Now, Iowa said that their number one issue, 41% of Iowa caucus goers say that illegal immigration was the biggest issue for them, followed by the economy, which is actually, in my opinion, the most important issue. The illegal immigration is the most important issue right now facing America for various reasons. And I've talked about this, and I will continue to talk about this, because this is a major problem we're seeing under Joe Biden. But let's get into historically what's happened, or the recent history of what's happened in Iowa. 2016, Ted Cruz actually beat Donald Trump by 3.3%, 27.6 to 24.3%. 2012, former Senator Rick Santorum and former Governor Mitt Romney tied at 24.6%. 2008, Mike Huckabee actually won 34% to 25% against Mitt Romney. Now, I wish Mike Huckabee would have won that nomination in 2008. Sadly, it was John McCain, but I think Mike Huckabee would have had a better chance. To year 2000, George Bush beats Steve Forbes, which actually I really like. Very good on the economy. 41% to 30%. 1996, Bob Dole beat Pat Buchanan, if I saying that right correctly, 26% to 23%. Yeah, so in 1988, Bob Dole beat Pat Robertson by 12.8%, which was at the time the greatest margin of victory we've seen in Iowa up until this point where Donald Trump won by 30%. And he didn't spend as much time in Iowa as a lot of these other candidates did. Let's check it out. He only, between January of last year and January 4th of 2024, he only held 24 events, which may seem like a lot, but that's 2 events a month. But he'd had a lot towards the end. But his team had a great ground game, even though he wasn't there a lot of the times because he was focused on other states. He has his legal issues going on. So he was all over the place. He has been all over the place. But he had a great ground game out there with his team, running things, making sure that they were drumming up support. Nikki Haley, less than half the number of Nikki Haley, 75% less than Ron DeSantis, who went to all 99 counties. And then more than 200 less than upstart than Vivek Ramaswamy. So all of these people put in tons of resources and tons of money into Iowa and did not win. And at one point, DeSantis, it looks like he gave up on trying to get first place, and his campaign came out and said, we need to finish a strong second going into New Hampshire, which will be on the 23rd. Now, let's go into that a little bit. Let's see. I think in New Hampshire, we are going to see a Trump victory, but I think he's going to get about 45%. The polling there is not as strong for him. Nikki Haley has gained a lot of steam there, a lot of traction. I think she will likely get about what the polling says. My prediction is Trump gets about 45, 46% of the vote and walks away with a victory. At that point, I think it's likely we see, I don't know, depending on what happens in South Carolina, I think Ron DeSantis will drop out, depending on what happens over the next couple of elections. New Hampshire, if he has a poor showing in New Hampshire and Nevada, then I think he'll drop out by South Carolina. Whichever comes first, I have to check the dates on that. But I think he will likely be gone before Super Tuesday. That's my opinion. If he's getting clobbered in all these states, he has no path to victory. And then it'll be a 2-person race, and Trump will take the nomination. Super Tuesday, he's going to wrap it up, which I will be reporting on Super Tuesday, March 5th. Big day, Texas, California. Trump will likely sweep those states. We'll see what happens, but he's going to have a big victory, and he will be the nominee. And, yeah, he's going to go up against whoever it may be, Joe Biden, which I hope he goes up against. But, yeah, great night for Donald Trump. 51% of the vote, historic victory, landslide victory. Even with all the frigid temperatures and the snow and all of that, people still came out and showed up for him and gave him a resounding victory, which I think was expected. He performed very well and did very well campaigning there. Like I said, didn't hold as many events as other candidates, but he had a strategy and it worked for him. Name recognition was a big one. Having a great team there, and then also coming there from time to time, holding rallies and meeting with people, meeting with the regular everyday person, going to pizza shops, going to the fire stations, things like that. Holding more intimate events versus big rallies holding with 10,000 people. He had more intimate events in little gyms, high school gyms, whatever it was, smaller places, more intimate, with only a few hundred people coming in. I think really helped him. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care.